The new Modern SAM.gov training webinar is brought to you by the Great Falls PTAC and made possible by Big Sky Economic Development and its partner organizations across the state. This Procurement Technical Assistance Center is hosted by the Great Falls Development Authority and funded in part through a cooperative agreement with the Defense Logistics Agency. As PTAC advisors, we're able to provide free assistance to show you how to pursue, bid, and win government contracts that will help make the contracting process easier for you. Today, we'll be focusing on what's changed since May 24th, what hasn't changed, what remains the same, and what impact these changes will have on you. IAE is the Integrated Award Environment. This is where GSA operates and maintains all of the systems that support the federal awards process. It's basically the awards system infrastructure, which includes things like grants and contracts. GSA is the General Services Administration, which is an independent agency of the US government. During this transition, they have made it their goal to try and reduce barriers that will make it easier to do business with the government, increase the transparency into the federal spending process, increase the accountability for content they post, and make the data available while maintaining the quality and integrity of each system. This is the universe of systems in the IAE portfolio. All areas highlighted in green have been modernized and are now fully integrated into the new modern SAM.gov. SAM, which is still highlighted in blue here, just crossed that tipping line on May 24th and is now fully modernized. You may be familiar with several of these sites. However, if you would like to take a deeper dive into each one, I would recommend scheduling some time with your local PTAC who can assist you with navigating each system and addressing any questions you may have. There have been two phases to the integration process of Beta SAM and SAM.gov. April 26th, there was the launch of the new look and feel of the modernized environment, which was known as Beta SAM. GSA did this deliberately to give users some time to adjust to the new changes. On May 24th, they integrated the entity registration and exclusions component of SAM into the modernized environment, retiring Beta and launching the new modern SAM.gov. Prior to the integration of Beta SAM and SAM.gov, this is what you were probably used to seeing when you would access the SAM homepage. If you were a user of Beta SAM.gov, this is what you were probably used to seeing on the homepage as of the April 26th redesign launch. As of May 24th, the functionalities of SAM and Beta SAM were merged together to create the new modern SAM.gov homepage for easier access and a better user experience. You will notice that there are additional landing pages that have been added to the homepage, including entity registration and exclusions. The new layout provides simplicity and easier navigation. In the center of the screen, you will notice that the entity registration, entity reporting, and exclusions have been added to the homepage. The idea is to keep them individualized for the user. To the right of the screen, you will see Register Your Entity. This is where there's added functionality to help users with things like getting started, register an entity, and checking registration status. At the top is the Data Services box. This is a function that will allow you to pull and download reports and other data that may be of interest to you. So why the change? The changes are based on the idea of reducing the burden for users by streamlining the online awards process. Part of achieving this is by integrating all of the legacy systems into a one-stop shop that will create a secure business environment. How they're making the change is also important. GSA has been incorporating feedback from focus groups, workshops, everyday users, and other resources to see what was working on the current SAM and beta SAM, what's not working on these sites, and asking the question, how do they get to that common integrated environment they want to achieve? Well, many of the successful improvements that have been implemented into the current SAM.gov are based off of a direct feedback from users just like you. The new design itself that was launched on April 26th was implemented in order to bring the platform compliant with the 21st Century Integrated Digital Experience Act and GSA guidelines. Part of this is for mobile capability, which isn't 100% yet, but if you have attempted to use the mobile app, you may have run into some difficulty at this point. GSA is diligently working to improve this feature. What actually changed on May 24th? If you were a beta SAM user, you will be automatically redirected to the new modern SAM.gov homepage because beta SAM has been retired. You will have one username and password by creating an account through login.gov. This will give you the functionality to access multiple landing pages, such as login.gov, fsd.gov, and of course, sam.gov. The modern new SAM homepage will give you the links to access landing pages that are specific to entity registrations, exclusions, contract opportunities, and much more. An entity information tab has been added to the select domain dropbox to help simplify the search feature by applying specific filters. And finally, there has been an entity registration link added to your workspace for more convenient access when registering a new entity or renewing an existing one. What hasn't changed? Well, that same functionality of searching domains that was available in beta SAM has remained the same in the modern SAM. The process for registering or updating an entity has also remained the same, as well as the registration data pages and how to search active exclusions. If you had an existing SAM profile prior to May 24th, your user account and roles should have been automatically migrated into your new workspace. Some of you may recognize the workspace prior to May 24th looking like this. And here is the new look of your workspace today. This is your personal workspace where you can check your profile, save searches, notifications, track pending requests, and even request roles. The idea is that your workspace is specific to you and your account. The system accounts section of the page is where you will be able to access the management side of things. Your workspace indicates a variety of information, such as how many active entities you have, number of pending actions, and even your deactivated accounts. The goal of your workspace is to give you the functionality to monitor your SAM profile, register a new entity, or manage an existing one. If you have an entity that you know is registered in SAM and your workspace displays all zeros, confirm that you have an active entity administrator linked to the account by looking at your profile. On the right side of the screen, you will be able to view pending requests that are specific to you. This may include any requests you've made, such as a new role or requesting access to a document. The notifications section is not personalized, and if you're an administrator or you manage other user accounts, this is where you would be able to view and respond. If you were to select active from the entity management section, this is what you would see. This is where you're able to view the list of your entities and their status. This view can be very helpful to those who manage more than one entity in SAM. In this view, and public search as well, you will be able to view each entity's DUNS and SAM unique entity identifier. However, the DUNS number will remain the authoritative until April 2022. As you can see from this slide, there are some examples of items in process, which as the TIN with a check mark and an exclamation next to the physical address. This gives an overview of areas within your profile that may need to be updated. This view is specifically tailored to the entity or entities that you manage. It offers a more detailed overview of what may be going on with each one. So if you're just looking for a search of entities, you will want to do that from the public search tool that can be located on the SAM.gov homepage. This is how your SAM entity record looked prior to May 24th. This is the current view of your SAM entity record today. To the left of the screen, you can see that the entity display view has been updated. This is where you actually have the option of going to a specific part of the entity record just by clicking on the item, or you may scroll down the page until you find what you're looking for. This is what you're probably familiar with seeing when you go to the SAM.gov homepage. This is where you could create a user account, register an entity, or search records. As of May 24th, the SAM.gov homepage has a new modern look and feel to it. The functionality is still there. It just looks different from what you're used to, and how you get to these different stages will be a little different as well. The new modern SAM.gov now has specific landing pages you can access directly from the homepage. There are a couple of different ways you can start a search of entity information. You can utilize the search tool to perform a public entity search. If you're signed in, you can select specific page such as entity registration or exclusions. Additionally, there is a search bar at the bottom of the homepage. You want to select entity information from the domain drop-down box, then enter a keyword. This is an excellent tool if you know the exact entity name or DUNS number. The idea of the landing pages is to allow the opportunity for you to search specifically on those data pieces. So if you only wish to work with entity registration, you can sort of pre-filter that by going to that specific landing page. If you have questions, such as getting started with a registration or help about a registration, this page is a great resource to give you that knowledge of where to go and how to do this. Same with the exclusions page. An exclusion record identifies parties excluded from receiving federal contracts, certain subcontracts, and certain types of federal financial and non-financial assistance and benefits. This type of information is going to be located here, and there are specific filters that will help narrow your search. There's also an entity reporting page available as well. So all of these pages are just a great resource for additional help and clarification on what you're trying to search. Each landing page has a search bar. Using the entity registration page as an example, you can do a specific search using keywords and also have access to the advanced search tool where you can select specific filters that will produce more refined results. By default, all search results will only display active entities. If you would like to view inactive as well, simply click on Advanced Search, select Entity Registrations from the domain drop-down box, then continue down the page to select the inactive feature, which will allow you to view both at the same time. Across the site and even on the home page, you will see the Register Your Entity widget, which highlights the options of getting started, renewing your entity, or checking your registration status. The goal is to make this section accessible to the user from wherever you may be within the site. Further down on each landing page, you will have access to additional links specific to that page. Using the exclusion page as an example, it's the idea that you have a way to utilize the filters available with the advanced search tool, and that you're also able to utilize the Get Started Searching feature that will provide additional help tips and more knowledge about the landing page itself. Another item that has changed is that you need to be signed in to see the entity registration and disaster response registry. The information is still public, so you don't have to have any special roles or permissions. However, you do need to be signed into your SAM.gov account in order to view the information. For those of you wondering what the disaster response registry is, it's a voluntary registry of contractors who are willing to perform services such as debris removal, distribution of supplies, reconstruction, and other disaster or emergency relief services. If you haven't signed in and you're trying to view this type of information, you may see a pop-up like this one indicating that you need to sign in before you can proceed. Once you have signed in, you can begin accessing the search features. You can see here that the spacing has improved so that you can see more results in a smaller area, but still highlighting important information, making filters accessible as well. Very specifically on the filtering highlighted here, there is a way that you can switch the domains directly from the search results page, as well as entering in additional filters. Similar to other areas of the site, the search result filters that you see here are going to depend on what landing page you're in. So if you were searching from contract opportunities, obviously it's going to display different filtering options than if you were on the entity registration landing page. Keep in mind that if you switch landing pages, the filters will change as well. The Get Started landing page is designed to help orient the user and walk them through what will be needed in order to successfully complete the SAM registration process. All entities that would like to do business with the government must have a DUNS number. This is a 9-digit number provided by Duns & Bradstreet free of charge. Most entities have already been assigned a DUNS number and they don't even realize it. So before you request one, this would be a great time to connect with your PTAC who can help you confirm if your entity already has one. If it's been determined that your entity has not been assigned a DUNS number, your PTAC can assist you with requesting one. You'll want to make sure you have the necessary documentation that will be required, such as your EIN number, financial information where you would like the government to deposit funds, and any other specified documents that may be needed depending on the complexity of your situation. Finally, you will need to create a login.gov account if you don't already have one. A login.gov account is required to register your entity in SAM.gov. Once you begin the SAM registration process, you will be prompted to verify your individual identity. This is currently optional. However, login.gov will eventually make this a mandatory requirement. Now that you've completed these steps, you're ready to begin the registration process. The look of the registration screens and the requirements of completing the registration hasn't changed. Once you actually start registering your entity, the process is still the same as it was before. You will still be prompted to fill out the following sections: core data, which includes your DUNS, EIN, and business information; assertions, which are the types of goods and services your business provides; representations and certifications, which is a series of questions that you are required to answer; and finally, points of contact. This is how the government will contact you. After you've completed these sections, you're ready to submit your registration. Keep in mind that many of your compliance questions you're required to answer during the SAM registration aren't always straightforward, and you may need some assistance. Another feature that is staying the same for the registration process is that if you're in the middle of completing a new registration or updating an existing one, and you leave the registration process without clicking the Save and Next button, you will lose the data. However, you will still receive the pop-up message letting you know that you haven't completed the process, and you will lose your progress if you exit the page. In your new workspace, there is a Work in Progress tab. If you see numbers within this tab, this is an indication that you have not successfully clicked the Submit button during the registration or update, and it will remain there until you go back and complete the process. The SBA profile has also remained the same. After you have completed and submitted your SAM registration, you will want to proceed to the SBA profile page. The purpose of the SBA profile is to allow your business the opportunity to stand out from your competitors. After submitting your registration, you will want to monitor the registration status. The functionality of checking your registration status has changed and been updated a bit. You will need to be signed in, and you will only be able to view your own entities based on your specific permissions. Keep in mind that you're not able to complete a public entity search from here. To do so, you will need to return to the SAM.gov homepage. In Beta SAM, there were roles and permissions. And in the new modernized environment, there are also roles and permissions. For the most part, these are the same. The green sections have been simplified. If anything, all that has been changed is simplifying the language that titles each one, but the actual permissions and functions of what these roles can do have remained the same. As of May 24th, if you're starting a new registration that has not been registered before, you do not need to submit a notarized letter because you will automatically be assigned as the entity administrator. The only time that SAM.gov will require a notarized letter is when there is no entity administrator on existing registrations. Roles of our set of permissions that are assigned to a user account in order to ensure that the users are able to protect the entity's data and perform specific tasks such as updating the entity's SAM registration. The benefit of having more than one role assigned is to ensure that the entity always has access to their SAM profile and that an employee's personal email address and phone number are not used to create the credentials for the entity's login.gov account. To request a user role, you will need to create a login.gov account if you don't already have one, and submit your request to the appointed administrator for approval. As an entity administrator, you are able to manage, request, assign, approve, and delete roles from your workspace. The new SAM unique entity identifier number will eventually become the new authoritative identifier sometime in April 2022. But until then, like I had mentioned earlier, the DUNS number will remain the authoritative identifier. The reason they are transitioning away from the DUNS number is to simplify the registration process, and this way entities will only need to go to one place to register and renew their entity registrations moving forward. By combining services, the government is able to better manage and bid validation services without having to change the unique entity identifier. The FSD.gov landing page received a new look and feel with the redesign launch as well. The idea is that the help and support pages would provide a more direct path when assistance is needed. The changes to the FSD.gov landing page has provided additional functionality for a more user-friendly experience. The Create an Incident function allows you to submit an incident ticket without having to contact an FSD agent directly. It serves as a self-service portal where you can upload documents such as the SAM notarized letter electronically for approval. The live chat function allows you to connect and engage with a live FSD agent that will be able to assist you with any help questions you may have. And the search tool has been improved as well. The new look of the advanced search and improved filters will provide a more streamlined experience. Additional safeguards have been added to searching entity registration and status information, which requires the user to be signed in to their SAM.gov account. When you access help pages, FAQs, or other help areas of the new modern SAM, you will be directed to the FSD.gov landing page, where you will be prompted to sign in. And from here, you will be able to utilize all of the features that FSD.gov has to offer. The idea is that by adding the additional search bar, an user will be able to enter their question and get help fast. The FSD.gov landing page is now displaying additional widgets that will allow you to access helpful information on how to become an entity administrator, check your registration status, and much more. Engaging with the user community has been the core approach, and even after transitions are complete, there's always room for improving tools and processes. You can help by accessing the feedback tool that can be located in the footer of each landing page within SAM.gov. This is a great feature because this gives you the opportunity as a user to express your recommendations for improving the user experience. We look forward to assisting you with your government contracting goals. So connect with your Great Falls PTAC.